Chikorel, this is my house. They have always entertained people with their art and remarkable talent in Egypt and the Arab world. The Abu Auf family. I'm talking here about the famous actor Izzat Abu Auf, who in the late 70s made a musical band and called it the 4M. The 4M stands for Izzat and his sisters Maha, Mona, Manal and Mervat. Rauf and his sisters belonged to a family that worked in the field of arts, as their father is Ahmed Shafiq Abu Rauf, who was a musician, composer, military officer, and former member of parliament. He was a member of the Egyptian parliament in 1959, head of the Authors and Composers Association, head of the Mediterranean Music Center 1970, and head of the Arabic Music Institute 1979. But away from the scenes and spotlights and behind the camera, there was something mysterious and strange about the life of this musical family. Fate led them to a hidden world, an unknown world, a world that defied all laws of reason and logic, a paranormal world. Laid back in the 1960s on a sunny bright day, Officer Ahmed Shafiq was taking a walk with his wife Samira, nicknamed Sisi, in one of the upscale streets of Zamalek in Cairo, Egypt. When Sisi's eyes fell on a luxurious villa with stairs on both sides and a large garden. The garden was filled with mango and lemon trees and flowers and roses of different types and colors. As soon as Sisi saw the villa, she was captured by its beauty. But there was something strange about this villa. It was locked with chains and red wax, and no one lived there. Lured by the villa's stunning view, Sisi paid no attention to its eerie sight, nor to the stories that spun around it about neighbors screaming and seeing animals at night. This man says he saw cats and dogs climbing the villa's garden wall and never coming back. This woman says she hears screams and howling at night, and these young men swear they saw a man staring at them from one of the villa's balconies. But Ahmed Shafiq and his wife paid no attention to anything they were told, as they were dazzled by the villa's irresistible beauty. The police informed Ahmed Shafiq that the lady who lived before them went mad and couldn't tolerate living there. Ahmed Shafiq had to sign a pledge that he will live with his family in this villa under his own responsibility. The family moved into the villa and things went well for a few months until something unexpected happened. Izzat was 12 years old and his sister Maha was around 4 or 5. They were playing in the garden when all of a sudden they heard their mother screaming. Sisi was tidying the room and putting the clothes in the closet when she heard footsteps on the parquet floor. As she turned around, she saw a man dressed like a priest with bulging eyes, a frightening smile, and a lamp in his hand. Sisi told her mother, who was terrified. This incident happened again, and Sisi became afraid to enter the room alone. Her husband, who worked as an officer, as a police officer, often left her alone with the children for days. One day, Sisi's brother decided to visit them. He was a student at university. While studying in Ahmed Shafiq's room, he felt drowsy and fell asleep on the desk, to wake up sensing a hand gently touching his shoulder. He saw a middle-aged man with white hair and protruding eyeballs wearing a priest outfit. Izzat's uncle was terrified and tried to push the man away, and to his astonishment he walked right through him. He jumped out of the room and in seconds he was in his sister's room screaming, "Get out of this house immediately! It's haunted!" Izzat's father, Ahmed Shafiq, was a strict officer who didn't believe in paranormal stories. He was a very stubborn man who considered paranormal stories a figment of imagination or a plunge into the world of superstition and quackery. He never believed Cece and would always tell her, "You'll drive our children crazy." One day, the heirs of the previous owner of the villa contacted Officer Ahmed Shafiq and asked him to hand over a piano that belonged to the previous owner. But who was the previous owner? The house belonged to Salvador Chikorel, the owner of the Chikorel chain of stores. Chikorel stores sold clothes to the upper class in Egypt at the time. Salvador died and his heirs took over the stores. Officer Ahmed and his wife Samira went to the Chikorel store to hand over the piano to its owners. Samira and her husband entered one of the offices in the luxurious store and saw pictures of the previous owners who passed away hung on the wall. As Samira sat down to sign some papers, she yelled, "Ahmed, this is the picture of the man who appears in the house." The store manager turned and said, "This is my uncle and the previous owner of your house. He was murdered in this house." And now the threads of the story began to intertwine and reveal the mystery of the mysterious man who appears in the house. It's Salvador Chikorel. Mrs. Samira screamed as her husband tried to calm her down. She asked the manager about the story of the man in the frame. He told her Salvador, his wife and son, lived a happy and peaceful life. He inherited the shop from his father, Moreno Chikorel, who immigrated from Italy to Egypt. Working hard day and night, the store became a group of stores, making it one of the biggest chains of stores selling the most luxurious clothes. His wife was a cheerful lady with a calm smile that never left her face. She was happy and optimistic until she woke up one day to witness a tragic accident. Her son tripped from the roof while trying to pick a mango from the tree. Unfortunately, he died instantly. Ever since that day, she had always been in a state of melancholy. Cece's eyes grew wide as she looked at her husband Ahmed, then turned to the store manager saying, "So the blood on the outer wall of the house is the blood of Chikorel's son. We've tried repeatedly to wipe it off and paint over it, but it was useless. The blood just keeps coming back." Ahmed interrupted, "This is nonsense. This is nonsense. I don't believe in such superstitions. This is the age of science." The manager continued, "A group of armed men broke into the villa in 1927 with the intention of stealing. They stabbed Salvador 11 times in various parts of his body, causing him to die. This scene was in front of his wife, who suffered a severe nervous breakdown and withdrew from society. The police identified the criminals and they were sentenced to death by hanging. The crime was plotted by Cristo, Chikorel's previous driver, who had a bad attitude. Salvador fired him after paying his dues. Cristo made a deal with the new driver and 2 other people to burglarize Salvador's house and rob him. His wife passed away shortly, leaving the house completely empty." Samira returned home trembling with her husband. He asked her, "Do you really believe in these superstitions, Samira? You're an educated woman. How can you allow yourself to believe in such nonsense?" In one of the interviews, Maha, Izzat's sister, said, "We experienced terrifying incidents in this house. My mother repeatedly complained about her inability to sleep and about the feeling that someone is following her and looking at her. We often heard the sounds of movement on the parquet floor of the villa. We slept together in the same room and neither of us dared to sleep alone or even go to the bathroom. If one of us went to the bathroom, the other had to wait outside. We would see the apparition walking through the halls and in the garden, holding a lamp in his hands. The apparition would take different forms. For example, one night, my brother's friend Freddie decided to spend the night with my brother Izzat in his room. My sister Mona woke up in the middle of the night and sat on bed. I asked her, "What's wrong, Mona?" She said, "I saw a white blurry ball moving towards the bathroom. Then the door closed and it never came out." So I told her, "Maybe it was my father." Maha said, "No, no. I'll go and see who this person is." And to our astonishment, it was Freddie, my brother's friend, holding a light bulb in his hands. And instead of heading right towards my brother's room, he headed towards the living room and entered the wall and disappeared. My grandmother decided to call an imam, a priest, and a rabbi to our house to try to find out what was going on. After several sessions trying to communicate with the spirit, they told us that it's not just one spirit, but more than one. Chikorel's son and his wife died in the same villa. The Imam told us that trying to exorcise the spirits would only lead to more problems, and it was best to get adapted to living with them. Days passed as the family became accustomed to the ghosts of the house and got used to seeing many sights that were unusual for other human beings. Maha says, Azad loved camping in the garden of the house, and as children we would see someone passing by with a lantern, but Azad wouldn't tell us who it was. I remember once, when I was 10 or 11 years old, Azad and Mona were arguing who would get the Bona book. The Bona book is a rhythmical articulation book related to musical notes. As we were arguing, the bag rose in the air and the book fell out. The three of us were startled and ran out and squeezed ourselves at the door at the same time. Maha says, we were raised in the house believing that there were three ghosts. The ghost of Salvador Chikorel, who was murdered, the ghost of his wife, who died 40 days after he was killed because she saw him being murdered, and the ghost of their son, who fell from the roof while trying to pick mangoes from the tree. Every time we tried to whitewash the wall that had traces of the blood of Chikorel's son, the blood kept coming back. We tried to paint it with more than one color, beige, white, pink, and many different colors, but the traces of blood returned back. It was very noticeable in front of our guests, who always asked questions, and we had to always make up stories to justify the situation. In one of the TV interviews, Maha said, "My father never acknowledged anything related to a supernatural realm and considered them superstitions, until one day he was forced not to deny it ever again. My mother, sisters, and I went to Alexandria, and my father stayed alone at home. Around 3 a.m., my father came running, and his face was pale. Trembling and horror-stricken, he said, 'Cece, I'm sorry, the apparition appeared to me.' He admitted he was so stubborn, trying to ignore many incidents. For instance, while taking a shower, the brush rose in the air and brushed his back. Another incident, he was playing a piece of music on the oud and realized later he forgot to record it. He then heard the piece of music again, which means that someone has recorded it for him. When he tried to make a cup of coffee, the spoon stirred the coffee by itself. That day our house was robbed because my father left it unlocked and ran away. In a TV show called Afarid Hussein or Hussein's Ghosts, the late Hussein al Imam asked Maha Abu Auf if there were any Egyptian actors or singers who witnessed these events, and she replied, Farid Shawqi. Farid Shawqi was famous for his action roles where he used to fight so well and had to always win each and every fight. A party was held in the villa and a group of Egyptian actors and actresses were present, such as Farid Shawqi, Suhaira Babli, Yusra, Muhammad Abdulaziz, and many other famous artists. They spoke about Salvador, and Farid Shawqi said, "What is this nonsense? If this Salvador is a man, he should turn off the lights." The lights went out immediately, and Farid Shawqi jumped up in fear and said, "I will never enter your house again." Yusra, an Egyptian actress, was spending the night with Maha and saw a ghost coming and going. She asked Maha, "Who is this?" Maha replied, "Don't worry, it's Salvador." She asked again, "Who is Salvador?" Maha told her, "It's the spirit that lives with us in our house." Yusra jumped from the balcony in her pajamas. As days passed, the family got adapted to the situation. The ghosts accepted them and they accepted the ghosts too. But after they grew up and each one got married and they had to leave the house, no one else could ever live there, as the trapped spirits refused to accept anyone other than the Abu Auf family. The government had no choice but to completely demolish the villa. Maha Abu Auf describes the scene of its demolition as a huge hole underground, as if a bomb has exploded. We reached the end of our story for today. Until we meet again, stay safe and bye bye.